cave has water, this is where the dry caver's exploration ends. One of our tasks is to explore the underwater section of the caves to fully survey the extent of it. The divers from the subterranean dive team have joined the plain cavers. These divers have explored some of the more well-known caves, far beyond any other expedition. Their aim is to discover new extensions of the cave and to update old surveys. The cave exists in spite of the water. One theory explains that when the water table dropped, the caves above collapsed. As the water table rose again, it filled these extensions at the basement level of the new, deeper cave. The divers prepare to explore a cave that may have new extensions.
And away we go.
It will take nearly 1 hour to pass the cylinders down to the cave. Each diver needs 2 independent cylinders for each individual dive.
Okay. Alright, I've got it. Right.
It will take another 2 hours to bring all the equipment into the cave, and then it all has to be prepared for the dive.
A reason. I got 230 and 240. Not quite 240, 235. 250 to 60.
Two divers begin the initial exploration.
It goes nowhere. Maybe 5 metres.
Be generous, about 7.
7 metres.
Yeah.
Any advance on 7?
Right, no more than 7. Didn't do a bad job of getting in and out without making it too dirty though. That's a good dive, I'll go back and do that again.
All that effort and the dive is abandoned. But the divers are not the only ones suffering setbacks. The ground crews and pilots are having their own problems. And here, in the isolation of the Nullarbor, all mechanical repairs must be done on the spot.
This is just a gentle crunch.
What do you think?
One bodge.
Oh, no, undercarriage.
The crew have to be a jack of all trades. Here, their skills are needed to fix a trike wing.
Step over and out on the way to beat the living shit.
Pain in the diodes down the left side.
An easier task than the old biplane prangs, and Paddy's handiwork saves the day. And if the divers can't fix the compressor, that means there'll be no diving. Wee Bubby Cave is one of the first caves to be explored by the divers. As other caves were being discovered, this cave was being neglected, and the old survey maps were incomplete. The divers wanted to fully explore the cave and bring the survey up to date. on the way we pass a sign which indicates the longest distance previously dived in Weebubby. We've now passed that distance and gone beyond. We dive to the maximum, which is about 40 metres here. As we make our ascent, we take our first decompression stop. These stops are made for various times at changing depths and are marked out on an ascent line. The danger is that nitrogen in our bodies can form bubbles, and that can be crippling. This is popularly called the bends, or decompression sickness. Making all these stops means it's way past our dinner time, so we rely on a few chocolate bars to keep us going. Cave diving is also very different from ocean diving in that the thirds rule applies, and we must use a third of our air on the way in, a third of our air on the way out, and leave a third for emergencies. At the end of the day, it's time to reflect on what we have achieved and what we will be doing tomorrow. Over the years, we have become a close-knit group. As we are out here for up to 2 weeks in isolation, we rely on each other. As the sun sinks over the plain, it's time to put out the cat. It's time to unwind, and some rare nocturnal fauna spring to life. The divers are also relaxing, and they're a different breed altogether. But their jovial atmosphere tonight belies the risks they face tomorrow, and the skill and concentration they'll need to see them through.
Going to be in your road there, young Marcus.
In the morning, more than a ton of diving equipment has to be lowered to the cave mouth, and then backpacked another 200 metres over large, loose rocks to the water's edge. Cocklebiddy is one of the longest underwater caves in the world, and still holds the record set in October 1983. The divers today will only be travelling to the rock pile, the first of 2 giant underground air chambers, isolated from the world by kilometres of water-filled tunnels. A dive which takes a long 40 minutes of continuous swimming with 3 heavy tanks on your back. The joys of total freedom of underwater flight make this an unforgettable part of the dive. Entranced, we surface in the airspace of a massive rock corridor. We swim on the surface in silence towards the looming wall of the imposing rock pile. We are now well over 1,000 metres from the start of our dive. And here, at the turnaround point of our dive, gravity deals a heavy blow as we climb out with our weighty equipment. These photos taken inside this isolated rocky air chamber show the lake we have just swum across, and the lake on the other side of this rock pile that heads into a lonely but magnificent darkness. After a rest, it's time to return, and the divers glide slowly past fossils millions of years old and float through a tunnel of spectacular flat roofs. The divers periodically check their equipment and each other for safety. With a little time to spare, as we drift upside down, the roof becomes a magical floor of quicksilver that runs and boils miraculously into unknown caverns above our heads. And after a while, a strange thing happens. The divers' minds accept the roof as a floor, and suddenly being upside down seems perfectly natural.